my first and last mistake. I'm blue without your face. But what can I do? 'Cause I'm just a sinking ship, and you're just a pair of lips that I've lost in the moment. All I want is for you to come back. Now I'm caught in the middle of life, and I need.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, your brother, and your friend Rashid, and I'd like to apologize for me not being able to come live yesterday. I know everybody in the comment section of the page of what was going on with YouTube and StreamYard. I had to fight for about an hour or so to get on to be able to schedule something for today. So I just want you all to know that I try to keep my word. Shout out to Ascended Awakening. Shout out for being in the chat. Ascended Awakening says, thank you. Let me put it on the screen. Thank you for going live. Welcome all. You're right about that. And hit the like button. And he also says that I've been in my Bible. All right. Now listen. As others jot in, because I know some notifications are going out, even though others aren't going out. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, elevation, and edification. This is the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, your brother, and your friend Rashid, and thank you all for giving me your time today, because you didn't have to do that. Now, there are so many things going on today, and shout out to my guy Naeem88. Shout out that we have to put a lot of things in perspective. Someone told me that a major channel took a shot at me today, and I listened to the major channel, and I didn't think they took a shot at me. I'm honest. I don't think because I'm not a they. I'm a he. And when they said they refers to more than one people. Now they could have been speaking in code, but I don't think so. You know, but if they were, hey, it is what it is. Okay. You're not going to agree with everybody all the time. All right. Shout out to Flying Crocodile in the building. Flying Crocodile says salute to Rashid in the chat. Grateful to catch y'all live. I'm trying to tell you. So I've been watching the reporting on what's going on, and I have seen, and I've checked the online media, the sites like RT, Sputnik, and all of these things. I've checked all of those, and I noticed that every time it was reported that Israel had done something, it was reported without any hesitation, anything. But when Iran had done something, they had not reported it, or if they did, it was only a blanket article. And what I'm doing, I'm trying to measure for myself and see how biased these things. I told you sometimes RT acts more pro-Western than Western sites, but I noticed that has been a theme across the thing. And I was looking at something. I think it was an Indian site. What is it? India Hindu Times, if I'm not mistaken, one of those. And I noticed every time that they would say Israel struck such and such, Israel did this, and so you look and see how did they find out? It was because it was disseminated by the Israeli officials. But when Iran said that we did such and such, it'll say Iran strikes Israel, the leadership claims, or the regime claims. And and this was not just exclusive to that organization or that so-called media outlet. This has been the main thing, the main out front thing that they've been pushing, and I pick up on those things. And shout out to Anna Jackson. Hey boo, back to you. She said, hey boo, and back in all the chat. Shout out to Michael in the building. So listen, there's a lot that is missing that nobody is taking aim at, nobody's talking about. Okay, so we hear Trump constantly on the air talking about we have control of the skies over Iran. we did this, as if he was French. We, monsieur. And he's talking about how I may bomb Iran sites, nuclear sites, I may not. You hear, well, you see for yourself how, oh yeah, they're in damage control. I'm gonna highlight you in just a second, Flying Crocodile. But we see Israel attacking sites, and a lot of you don't know that this is being reported as warplanes attacking these sites, but a lot of these sites have been attacked by drones that were already based in Iran. So that gets left out of the discussion, okay? We have to put the things where they are, not where we want them to be, but where they are, okay? Now, let's go to, Anna, the royal we. Before I go to what I want to bring up to you guys, this Flying Crocodile says, I suspect that they are in damage control trying to limit the world's sense of hope that live feeds of Israel destruct. And that's what they're doing. That's why it's so censored. Now, if you were winning, why would you want to censor everything? And if you were winning, why do you have to call in America to come to the forefront to rescue you? If you were winning, why would you need Europe to join on with you if you were winning? Because if you and I, as they say in the street, if you and I squared up for a fade and you're winning, and it's clear that you're winning, and it's clear that I can't keep it up trying to defend myself against you, then why would you call in your buddies to jump on me? If it's clear to everybody who's watching that you are in the driver's seat and that you're winning. But I know common sense tells me that if you're losing and I'm thumping on you, then of course you would need to call in all of your buddies that were standing around watching, that had a part in planning the provocations. That's only common sense. But they want you to throw away common sense when you're looking at this. This is the way the empire is. Shout out to RH. Peace, man. Check this out. So let's go to something real quick. It's very important that we address this stuff here, because this will give you the base or the basis of how to deal with what you see on the news, all of the propaganda, the innuendo, and all of the speculation that you hear coming from mainstream and alternative media sites, because all of them are leaving out a whole host of things, okay? Shout out to my guy, Brooke Chin, in the building. What's up, Brooke? Check this out. So, and everybody, as you come in, please smash the like button, please. All right, please smash the like button. So we hear the threats from Trump, and we hear the threats from Israel, and we see the bombing from Israel. But I want to also say this to you too, before I go further. A lot of the bombing that is taking place, a lot of the stuff that is taking place, this is not being done by Israel. Israel is getting the credit for that. A birdie whispered this in my ear. I already kind of suspected it, but a birdie whispered this in my ear. That's why Trump was caught with the fraudulent slip, the Freudian slip, when he says we. This is a concerted effort by these are the main ones. The UK, the US. Those two are the main ones. And then you have the crotch biters, Germany and the rest of them. But Iran is surely not fighting Israel by itself, okay? Shout out to Jay in the building. Jay says chicken's coming home to roost. Absolutely. And Dwight Anderson from Jamaica. Jamaica is in the building. All right. So listen. As we hear the pundits talk and we hear Trump issue out more threats, sell P8. Shout out sell P8 in the building. He says, any update from the Houthi? I know they are always they've already joined in. They struck Tel Aviv also. As a matter of fact, before we go further, let me say that Iran has said that a lot of the drones in the first few days that were being sent, those were not Iranian drones. All right, so we can glean from that what we may. Okay, so we hear Trump again. Let's go back to something. We hear Trump threatening to bomb Iran. Trump threatening to annihilate and decapitate people. We see Israel Israel assassinating people, targeting civilian areas. We see her planning her military in civilian areas of Tel Aviv and all of these other places in Haifa. And all of this stuff. Let's go to something real quick. Shout out to Donald M in the building. Shout out. Let's see. This is what I put in here. So you guys can do this just as easily as I can. And I did it, listen to me good, with 2 minutes and 48 seconds before the show started. 2 minutes and 48 seconds. I put it in the search engine. I have 4 things put up in the 4 different tabs up here, okay? I did all 4 of these 2 minutes and 48 seconds, I believe it was, right before the show started. So if I can do this, I know you all can do it, okay? So I'm gonna read to you this stuff in just a minute. Shout out to Black Diamond. Black Diamond heard what I said when I said crotch biters. Yeah. Restless Native is in the building. Shout out. Minor Threat is in the building. Shout out to you. No guest tonight. Sometimes the people want me to freestyle, okay? And I have to be attentive to that. Either tomorrow or Friday, we're going live with the channel member Patreon stream, okay? Just want you guys to know that. Unless something comes up, then we'll have to move it to the weekend. And also, I want to say this before we get to this. We're going to start having weekly 30-minute question and answer periods between us over on the Locals platform. That's the empowerment of truth.locals.com. It's in the description down there. Go sign up. It's free. Go sign up, and we'll be back and forth with each other, and we'll have a community where we can chat back and forth with each other. Okay, do that. All right. I really appreciate it, and sign up to all of the other platforms we're on. So I put in these words right here. Threatening nations is against international law. The AI overview says yes. Threatening a nation with force is generally considered a violation of international law, specifically the United Nations Charter. Article 2, and then in parentheses, it says 4, of the UN Charter prohibits the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. This prohibition is a cornerstone of international peace and security. You heard that? Both, well, not just both, all the European Union, the US, the UK, and Israel are violating the cornerstone of the international law of the UN Charter. And yet they're saying to you that they're in the right for attacking Iran. But we have it right here. Matter of fact, let's go a little further, okay? Give me 1 second. It says, this article explicitly states that all UN member states must refrain from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. I didn't write that. That's in the article, Article 2, with paragraph 4 of the UN Charter, and it prohibits the threat or the use of force against member states. So there, out the window goes America and Europe and the UK and Israel's so-called moral standing when they're ignoring the law willfully, not just ignoring it but throwing it to the side. Let's go to something else. All right. So I asked, number 2. Excuse me, and these are the words I put in, so you can put them in too. This is what I love about talking to you guys. I give you guys the exact same information that I have and how to get it, so that no one can say that I've embellished anything, no one can say that I've added to or taken away from anything, and nobody can mislead you after that. Okay, Beer Break 1 is in the building. So check this out. I put in is attacking nuclear facilities against international law, and here's the AI overview on that. Additional protocols 1 and 2 to the 1949 Geneva Conventions contain specific, you hear that? The word specific, provisions dealing with attacks on nuclear power plants. Article 56 of Additional Protocol 1 specifically prohibits attacks against nuclear power plants. All right. So listen. All right. According to the dictionary, the word specific is an adjective. It means particular, specified, certain, fixed, set, determined. So now when additional protocols 1 and 2 to the 1949 Geneva Conventions contain determined or set or fixed or specified or particular provisions dealing with attacks on nuclear power plants. Okay, now we're going to go to the next sentence. All right. Now it says Article 56 of Additional Protocol 1 specifically prohibits attacks against nuclear power plants. According to the dictionary, the word prohibits means forbid, ban, bar, interdict, veto, proscribe, prevent, stop, rule out, preclude, and to hinder. All right. So what we're seeing is the unraveling of the international, or so-called the rules-based orders, where it's rules for thee, but not for me. And the whole world is looking at this in real time. In America and the West, they're so arrogant that the more they act out their nature, the more they expose all of the skeletons in the closet. And everybody's looking at the hypocrisy, the disregard for international law, the disregard for human life, the disregard for humanity, the disregard for the will of the masses of the people around the globe. They're looking at that. And more so than an economic collapse, the world is pushing towards unhinging itself from the moral and ethical collapse of the Western world. All right. Now listen, shout out to everybody. But we're gonna read it. I told you I got these things here. 4. We've read them. Let's go. Flying Crocodile says Obama started sanction type actions, eviction from and confiscation of Russian properties in the U.S. about a year before Trump was voted in the first time. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it was a little bit before a year. I think it was all they're doing is passing down the policies of those people behind closed doors. All right. And like I told you, I believe, and I'm very strongly on this, I believe Obama was the greatest hindrance to Black America, almost in the history of America, because he lulled Black America to sleep. They were so happy. We were so happy to have someone for the first time look like them in office. And while he was in office smiling and talking the lingo, he was executing policies that were not only against the freedom of the world, but specifically the population of Black America. So let's go. Donald M says, Rashid don't lie to his peeps. You better believe it. Beer Break 1 says, Rashid, the voice of reason. And Jay says, international law isn't worth the paper the supremacists signed on. Absolutely. It says, I couldn't wait for your analysis today. And I couldn't wait. It took me a long time to get it because they are blocking me. So if when I tell you I'm going to do a show, if I can't, you know what they're doing. But I'll try from this. I'll try to go with a rumble when they start blocking me. Let's see. Flying Crocodile says attack on nuclear facility started in Ukraine with Zelensky. As I notice, every time I say something, it becomes it gets in the ears of other people with bigger platforms than they said. Remember, I told you guys that all of the stuff that you see being played in Iran mirrored back everything that was being done in Ukraine and in Russia, of the terrorist attacks, everything, the drones, for everything. Remember, I was telling you. Now that's the talk of the day. Remember when I was telling you guys that Iran is central to America's position to attack China? What did the senators come out this week and say? That they must take down Iran so that they can then position themselves to confront China. Haven't I been telling you guys that? Without Iran going down, it's hard as hell to try to take China. Because see, they have a plan already to try to hem in China through the island chains, through all of these networks that they put in the Asia Pacific area. They have these plans to then control the Malacca Straits and all of this stuff like this. They have their plans to then deploy troops down in the Mediterranean, and that's why they got rid of Syria, Assad. They want to control the Black Sea. They want to control the Baltic Sea. They want to go down here, control the Red Sea. They want the Persian Gulf. All of this is essential so that they can hold these strategic waterways, land routes, and air corridors over China's economy so that they can have they can control China's growth. And if you can control the water, turn it on and turn it off, you control the how a farmer can farm, right? So if China is the I'm just putting this as an example. If China is the world's farmer, but China does not control the water, whoever controls the water is king. So they want to control the water routes. They want to control the air corridors. They want to control the land routes so that they can stop the Belt and Road Initiative, so that they can stop the movement of free trade outside of American domination. I'm telling you this stuff. And this is what somebody said. Some guy took a shot at me saying that China, I don't know, China, what was it said? China does not need Iran. I didn't say China needed Iran. I didn't say that. I said America needs Iran out of the way. Why do you think that they are actively engaging in this? Actively. And everybody's entitled to their opinion. You know? But they are actively, and what's crazy about it is everything I told you how it was happening is happening. Go figure. Anyway, let's go up a little bit because the thing was jumping real quick. Anna says, Rashid with the smoke, and I'm here for it. You better believe it. Obama was never a foundation Black America. Neither was Kamala. Absolutely. They won't. You know what? I can't tell you guys who told me this, okay? Because they told me this in confidentiality. All right. But it was a government person, a former government person, okay? Hold on. They said that they could never allow, listen to me good. And this was told to me not last year. Well, it was told to me last year by someone else, but this was told to me before I interviewed someone, okay? A very, very influential person. And it said that, Rashid, don't you understand that Obama was allowed, that Condi Rice was allowed, that Susan Rice was allowed, that Colin Powell was allowed to be in those positions? I'm like, yeah. He said, but do you know why? He said, because they don't have the baggage of slavery in America. These are people who have they didn't experience that they're from the Caribbeans or from this land or from Kenya or from such and such. So there's a disconnect with them. He said to me, or she said to me, almost let the cat slip out the bag, that they could not have allowed a person who was up from slavery to ascend at those higher positions up there because they don't know if they can control them like that. Okay. Now that could be true or not true. I'm telling you what was told to me. Okay. And I'm not sitting here making up no lies. All right. Let's see. Completely forgot about that. Zelensky did try to go after nuclear facilities, and the media barely said it. And not just that, he went after the nuclear triad. Not just facilities, he went after the nuclear triad. Well, we know who went after it, but it is what it is. Donald M says, didn't Obama sign a Crimes Act that accelerate the incarceration rates of Black? Yes, sir. All right, yes, sir. Let's see. Absolutely a restless native. And let's see, Jay says, just in it. Let's see. Does anyone else share my belief that Israel has set up drone operation in the U.S. as a fail-safe? You can't put nothing past them. I'm just going to be honest with you. Let me go to this next one, okay? Number 3. This is the question I asked, okay? Is assassination illegal under international law? Well, common sense tell you it is, but with me, I like to prove what I'm saying and not just talking into the air. Okay, so the AI overview says this. Yes, assassination is generally considered illegal under international law, both during times of peace and armed conflict. Now stop right there. Iran was in negotiations. The top echelon of the military was killed by a surprise attack put together by the U.S., the U.K., NATO, and Israel. See, they use Israel out front to make people think, oh, Israel is such and such. But these are plans formulated by Washington and all of the minions. All right? Let us never lose sight of that. All right? So the assassination took place, and they killed a lot of leaders. Now we see that this was illegal and in opposition and contrary to what? Let's say it together. International law. Okay? It goes on and says, it is a violation of the laws of war and the law of nations. So not only are they in violation of international law, they violated even the laws of war, which means that they are unscrupulous. You cannot believe them. And that if you sit down negotiating with them, you do it at your own risk because they've proven to you. All right? All right? Isn't it ironic that while the negotiating team with Russia was getting ready to negotiate, out of the blue, there was a terrorist attack in Russia with the same drones, as I told you guys, with the same playbook. And we see that in Iran, right? When they were getting ready to go in for a deal, what happened? Boom. What happens? Talk to me. So you're telling me that's Israel doing all that by itself? Man, stop this. Stop this. Israel is America and the UK. They're all one and the same. 3 heads on the same snake. All right? Don't get it twisted. And it goes on to say this. This is because it involves the premeditated killing of a person for political purposes, often through treacherous, listen to this, or clandestine means, which is prohibited. What is the word prohibited? To forbid, to ban, to bar, to interdict, to veto, to proscribe, to make illegal, to prevent, to stop, to rule out, to preclude, to make impossible, to hinder. Huh? I didn't make this stuff up. Right? Now, let's go to the 4th one. I asked Google, are unprovoked attacks illegal under international law? The AI overview tells us this. Yes. Whoa. What? Yes. I got to say that again because they emphasized yes up there. Yes. Unprovoked attacks are generally illegal under international law. The UN Charter, specifically Article 2, I guess paragraph 4, prohibits the use of force against the territorial integrity and independence of any state, right? This includes unprovoked attacks as they listen to this part right here, as they constitute aggression and a violation of international peace and security. So again, when we're looking at this, why won't we look at this objectively? Huh? Because we have it right here. If I can pull this stuff up 2 minutes and 48 seconds before the show starts, anyone with a computer or phone or a tablet or whatever should be able to do the same because I'm not computer literate. Believe me when I say if I can do it, anybody can do it. I am not computer literate. All right. So Trump's threatening of Iran and the bullying and all of the braggadocious reporting in we should do X, Y, and Z. Why isn't the media stating that these things are internationally they're criminal? They're criminal in international law. And to do these things would make you a criminal or a party to criminal acts. Huh? I'm asking. I'm asking this stuff because you see the glee. You see the laugh. You see the happiness in the pundits when they talk about, especially on Fox News, about what Israel has done and what America is doing and all of this stuff. They want to hold everybody else up to a standard that they themselves shirk and run away from. They said that Gaddafi was in violation of international law and the world knew they were lying. Saddam was in violation of international law, even though it was the US, the UK, Germany, and those people who pumped his head, pumped his arsenal, and gave him the finances to do what he was doing. But when he bucked up against him and said, you know what, I think I want to be independent, he became a tyrant, a dictator, and a murderer. He wasn't a murderer when the United States them told him to go and invade Iran. He wasn't a murderer when they handed over chemical weapons to him. He wasn't a murderer when he took on and had a 8-year war, causing the death of hundreds of thousands of people. He wasn't a murderer then. He only became a murderer when he fell out of favor with the U.S. Huh? Make that make sense. So as long as I'm in your favor, I can go and bludgeon and rape and rob and pillage. Well, that's in your image and your likeness. So of course I should be in your favor. But when I step out and say, you know what, I'm in this position now, let me do what's best for my people. I become a tyrant, a dictator, a murderer. But as long as I'm killing in the name of the empire, robbing in the name of the empire, raping in the name of the empire, pillaging in the name of the empire, I'm a respectable, dignified world leader, as you see them doing with Zelensky. Man, stop this for you. Stop it. All right. Jay says, I don't hold it past Mossad to use the carrot and the stick on the U.S. public. Restless Native says, Obama and Kamala both never had black parents that had history in the USA. They don't know what the black experience is like in the USA. Well, I'm telling you, I told you what this person told me. All right. I told you what the person told me. And this was a higher up person in government. Okay. Now you can take that or leave it any way you want to. Everybody. I'm just telling you what was told to me. And I've had conversations behind closed doors, and I asked questions similar to that. And people tell you behind closed doors what they cannot tell you on the air. All right. So now this thing. So again, Flying Crocodile said, Rashid, I much prefer you. I much prefer the AU natural noggin, my friend. Okay. Let's see. The military is looking for something. All right. Oh, Zenya's in the building. Shout out. So again, let's go back to what I was telling you. It is essential that America either breaks or weaken Iran, like I kept telling you, because what most people don't mention is that is in their writings. I've been saying this for years. In order for them to go and focus on China, they felt the need that they had to attack Iran. They had to weaken Iran, because if they didn't weaken Iran, they felt that China would capture West Asia. And if China captured West Asia, it would become a land bridge to Africa. This is in their writings. So I'm not saying something out of the realm of what they said. I'm just telling it. All right. I know what you meant. I knew exactly what you meant, Flying Crocodile. Let's see. Everything Israel done is in coordination with the U.S., I don't think they act alone. They don't have the capacity or the capabilities to. Not on scales like this. All right. Let's see. And people talk as if the U.S. government is one homogeneous entity. There's fraternal I'm sorry, my daughter came in here. They're fractal fighting in the government. So and everybody wanting power and everything else to come their way. Right? And they're undermining each and every, and this just didn't happen with Donald Trump. This has been how it is. Why do you think sometimes when you look at Vladimir Putin, you'll say he should do such and such, and common sense tells you that he should make this move, but he doesn't. He makes a conciliatory move. That's because he is trying to balance the interests of different factions in the Russian Federation. All right, China has that a little bit, but China knows how to manage theirs better than all of them. Because once the order is given, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. And one of the reasons where the big corporations don't really want China to surpass the United States is this. In America, you steal $100 million, you steal $1 billion, you may get a slap on the wrist, or they may just ask you to pay a fine. In China, and Vietnam, those nations there, you going to jail. They may even kill you because you defrauded not just the state, you defrauded the people, the feeble. But in other societies, they have it just the opposite. It is to make sure that the weak, the feeble, and those who have older age are not put in a position where they cannot provide for themselves. Okay, let's see. Fly Crocodile says, let's all not forget that Trump wants to turn Gaza into the next resort, because the reason they want to do that is because of all that gas they found out there in the waters. And they feel like that if they can cleanse Gaza, first of all, they're killing multiple birds with one stone. They can get rid of those Palestinians, they think. All right. The Palestinians aren't going anywhere. You can believe that. Then they can rebuild Gaza, and they can bring in tourist money. They can have a all Jewish, well, not even Jewish, all Khazari land. Excuse me. And they can then no longer have to depend on gas supplies from other nations because of the huge amount of gas supplies that are in the Lebanese waters and in the Gazan waters. That's what that is. So they're positioning there. And then if that takes place, then guess what happens? They build a pipeline from occupied Palestine to Europe. And now guess who benefits from that? The Khazaris. And then they can then say, you know what, Russia, we really don't need your gas. That's what they're all angling for right over there. Let's see. I shout out Bricks Rising. Hello from Kenya. Shout out to Kenya in the African continent. You know, I'm from the diaspora, you know, so shout out. Anna says the Americans have to be yeah, I guess YouTube would take me off if I say what you just said. And traumatized in Iraq. What are we doing? Yeah. They already don't want me on air, but yeah. and what's crazy about it is, it's not even the troops that actually do the fighting. It's not even them. They are taking their marching orders because most of them are from poor and lower middle class and poor areas, and they're just trying to get out of their environment and make a way for themselves. And then the government understands that, and what do? In a capitalist society, they exploit them, send them to war zones, because in their eyes, they're expendable. So we'll have them to die for empire, and then we'll deny their families the benefits and the rights that is due to them. All right. What do you think Zelensky got that from? the reason he didn't want to repatriate those lost and fallen soldiers, because he would have to pay the families. He would have to pay combat pay. He would have to constantly steady on the taxpayer, but a steady burden on the nation. All America's doing the same thing, but she won't let you look at her. She continues to turn the mirror to somebody else. Why? Because she doesn't want that reflection looking back at her. That's what that is. Just like World War II is all about cutting off access to oil and gas, and not just oil and gas. It's a little bit different than World War II. All right, it's a little bit different because we're in multi-domains right now that they're trying to dominate that they can't dominate. You know, they've lost the edge in the propaganda sphere. They're losing it daily. All right. If they would have tried what they're trying today 15 years ago, it probably would have been successful. But they're losing the technological edge and the information space. They're losing their edge in the information space. They've lost their edge technologically to China. They've lost their edge in trade to China. They've lost their edge in manufacturing to China. They're losing their edge in every other area that they've dominated in. Even look at the gold market. It is no longer the London Gold Exchange, which everybody runs to now, because you got an alternative, the Shanghai Gold Exchange. You got Russia with oil bourses. You got Iran with oil bourses, right? And they're selling oil and they're selling stuff outside of using the euro or the dollar. This is unacceptable in the eyes of the West. So they're being challenged on multiple fronts. And this challenge is not just a challenge like World War II. This is a challenge for supremacy. This is a challenge for hegemony. This is a challenge of system against system, a predatory system of the West, and a system that is coming into being that is outside of the grasp of the West. And so now they're fighting like hell and they're leaving no stone. This is why I don't understand some of Russia's moves sometimes, okay? And I'm going to tell you why. It's good to be behind closed doors with what you do. But every now and then, it's also good to let people know, give them a heads up. All of these wars in the Middle East that has taken place have been to weaken Russia. All of them. Outside of the Iranian, the Iraqi war, the Somalian war multiple times, the Yemeni wars, all right, the Syrian war, Lebanese war, right? All of these wars, why do I say that? It's because these nations bought Russian hardware. These nations had trade with Russia. These nations had an attachment and an affinity for Russia. And Russia did not intervene in the way that she should. Put it like this. If America still had to deal with those nations, do you think that she would have been in a position to start the Ukraine war? She tested it with the Georgian war. All right. Now, let's do something. Let's flip something, okay? Do you think America would allow Russia to overthrow the Canadian government? Do you think America would allow Russia to come and say, you know what? I'm flipping Italy. I'm flipping Germany to me. I'm going to flip this country back to me. Do you believe that? No. Why? Because it's essential for her hegemonic ways. And she understands the ramification of that little by little. Even right now, America is trying to flip Armenia and Azerbaijan. Right now. She is just sent, and most of you don't know this, she's still trying to flip these people to her side. And Russia nonchalantly says, well, we respect the independence of nations. Sure, you should. But if you respected that in Ukraine, and look what it got you. You respected it in Georgia, look what it got you. Yes, respect it, but you have to understand that you're dealing with a wolf here. And the wolf is inside the chicken coop. And now it's time for the owner of the chicken coop to react or lose all of the chickens. You understand? And Russia doesn't do it like that, which brings harm later on down the line, right? And they only react when it has become so apparent, so evident. Sometimes you have to react a little bit before that. All right, let's see. RA says they also put those types of blacks in positions to fake Black American progress. Yeah, absolutely. Bill Break says Putin playing real chess, just doesn't boast about it. Absolutely, he's playing chess. But even chess players sometimes make the wrong moves and they get checkmated. All right. And so if playing chess is to lose Syria, to almost lose Lebanon, to lose Libya, to lose Somalia, to almost lose Yemen, to lose Armenia, to almost lose Kyrgyzstan and Turkestan and Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan, and now they're on your back. You've lost those other Soviet states, like all of the members of the Warsaw Pact, and now they're in Ukraine. If that's to play chess, I don't want him to be my chess player. See, I call it like it is. He's a very astute and apt person. He is. But sometimes you have to move. Sometimes. Even if it causes conflict or tension. Sometimes. I'm not advocating war. I'm saying, think about this. Let us rewind it for a minute. All right. Let's go back to the outbreak of hostilities in Ukraine when Viktor Yanukovych was whisked out of Kiev and was whisked out of Ukraine. And Putin kept talking about the rule of law. International law was breached. He's talking as if America flipping cares. This is what I'm saying. He's acting as if Britain cares. He's acting as if NATO gives a flip about international law. If they did, they would not have done what they did. Man, this thing is just moving. What should have been done? I advocated this from day one. Go back and look. Since when the coup took place, I said that Viktor Yanukovych, while he was in Russia, Viktor Yanukovych should have got on TV and announced that he had asked before he was whisked out. He had when Russia went in there to get him, he should have done a little media thing and said that he is now given authority to the Russian armed forces to go and retake Kiev and to put down the Western-inspired uprising. That would have cost a little bit of blood. But look what they're paying in comparison to that now. Huh? I'm not no Sunday morning quarterback. I said this then. Because he had the legal rights on his side. He always talking about law and the rule of law. He had the law on his side then. And he could have stumped the Nazis then. He could have broke the back of NATO then. And it would have been much less bloodshed. Tell me where I'm wrong at. Okay, let me give you another example. After Putin was only concerned about Crimea, they moved and took Crimea, right? As the war for the Donbass started, and the U.S. was openly supplying, why didn't he openly supply weapons? And every time the West says, oh, Russia's helping, they would deny it. But the West did not deny that they were helping the people that they put in office. So when at the beginning of the war, the Ukrainians were getting beat so bad by the Donbass militias that they were on their way to Kiev. And as a matter of fact, they were saying that they feared that the militias would be in Kiev in a week. Germany, France, Britain, the U.S., and a couple other states went and talked about an agreement. And Putin capitulated and said, okay, I'll call off the Donbass militia, and he stopped. But think about how he said, oh, no, we're going to correct this wrong right now before it exacerbates and get out of control. Think about the lives, the bloodshed. Think about how all of that would have been different. And the people in the Donbass was pissed. They were pissed. If you think I'm lying, go back and do your research. The people and some of the militias captains, they were mad that they were about to move towards Kiev, and they were stopped by Russia. And then it allowed that lull allowed for the forces of Ukraine to be rearmed and retrained and refocused, and then to move on to Donbass. But I was saying it all over. I wouldn't have stopped them because their cause and their fight was just to remove illegal occupants of the government's facilities and offices. That was just. So I don't know, but let's go. Let me go. Let's see. And America will make you believe a lie in a heartbeat, and the media will do it too. I was thinking as I was scrolling down and looking at some of this stuff. I remember Iran had caught 2 or 4 people in Iran, and the U.S. said these are citizens. These have nothing to do. They got lost on an expedition, and they should be released immediately. Here's the kicker. And the media kept pumping this, and people just overlooked it. And so I was looking at where the people were caught. And they were caught near sensitive areas where there was I believe it was either a clash that had taken place there, and they were right there. They couldn't go through the visa, as Americans keep screaming about, come to America the legal way. They couldn't go that way. They wanted to go in through that part. If you believe that those were just American citizens and were not some kind of agents, man, look at here, bro. You just lost. All right. Restless Native says, war is a sacrifice to Satan. He seeks war. He seeks war. He seeks Satan. Blessed be the peacemakers, for they are the children of God. Let's see. So, man, this thing is jumping. Come on. Yeah, I just saw this. Right on. Nobody's seen no terrorist Jelani to take power in Syria. Yeah. America claims to be fighting against ISIS, to be fighting against Al Qaeda, and then they put that man in, they removed the sanctions off of it. They couldn't remove it off the legitimate president, Bashar Assad. They can't remove it off Russia. They won't remove it off Iran. They wouldn't remove it off Venezuela. They won't remove it off Cuba. But they're going to remove it off Jelani, a terrorist, a dude who was Al Qaeda and ISIS. Come on, man, stop this. Stop it. The U.S. will go effing ballistic at the thought of losing Venezuela in massive oil. Venezuela has as a nation right now, it has the largest unproven oil reserves on the planet. Yeah. That's why they're always in the crosshairs. Michael N says, "Yup, even the Russians criticized Putin for not going into the Ukraine war." As a matter of fact, Putin himself, as he reflected on it, he said he made a mistake trusting those people. But when I was saying this, they were saying, "Oh, you don't know this. You don't know. This man is doing this." No. I'm just telling you what is logical and right. What makes sense. That's all I was doing. And of course, I didn't have at my disposal what he had at his disposal. But from the outside looking in, this is common sense, what he should have done. My God, Lord Freeze in the building. What's up, Freeze? It says, if Trump goes to war with Iran, who is back? Who is back? I cannot make it. I think you typed too fast and it left off a couple words. If Trump goes to war with Iran, who is back? Who is back? By China and Russia, it will be World War III. Nah, that's what everybody thinks. World War III has already started. This is the opening salvo. It's not gonna be like that. It's gonna be this is what's gonna happen. I keep saying this over and over again. Nobody is believing me. But every time I tell you guys something, it meant when I was telling you that it was coming, it happened, didn't it? This is what's gonna happen. There will be a major conflagration in the Middle East or North or West Asia. That's Iran. They attack Persia. They're gonna devastate Iran a little bit, but Iran is gonna give it as much as it receives it. Then, as this thing goes on, Russia and China will intervene, but not in a way that's gonna cause World War III. But America and the UK are going to be forced out of the West Asian, North African area. Period. Mark my words. And I'm not talking about 10 years, 5 years from now. That's not what I'm talking about. From that point there, as China sees that America is weakening, China is going to start giving ultimatums to Taiwan. What's going to happen is America is going to position there, and war is going to break out between the U.S. and China. And China is going to beat the flip-flops off of America, and she's going to roll over Australia like a parking lot. I'm giving you the truth. I know when I say stuff, I'm not the eloquent person who speaks the Queen's English or something like. Man, nah, I'm gonna call it like it is. Everybody, you understand? I'm giving it to you raw, without a chaser. This is raw, uncut. And then America is going to have to sue for peace with China, and she's going to be forced out of Asia. The only way she's going to be able to do business is by what the Asian nations are going to do. All of her allies are going to turn on. When they see what China is doing to her, when China starts beating the flip-flops off of her, they're going to turn on America. And people say, no, America has strong allies. Do you believe that the people of Japan actually forgot you dropped 2 nuclear bombs on them? Huh? Do you believe that? Does that make any sense to you guys? Huh? Japan is occupied by the United States. The Philippines is occupied by the United States. Those nations around there are occupied by the United States. And the people are starting to turn against the occupation. So when China starts digging up in America's behind, America's going to have to get a geopolitical backhoe to dig up out of it. That's what's going to happen. And they're going to have to sue for peace. And America's going to make her final stand as a global power in Europe. That she's going to go back and turn towards Russia. And Russia and America are then going to fight it out. They're not going to fight right now. They're going to fight it out. And when they fight it out, Russia is going to beat America, and America is going to employ nuclear weapons. And that's when Russia will strike Europe. And people say, well, let's do. It's not going to go. Now, the fallout from that will, all right, but not the actual nuclear war, right? America's going to be forced. They're going to have to come to some type of agreement, and America's going to be forced. She's going to come back home limping from the war over there. She'll never be a global power again. And people don't want to accept that. Listen to me good. Just say what I'm saying has no credence, no value, or whatever. How long do you think America can continue this stuff with the debt that she has accrued? Huh? How long do you think that America can keep up this facade with all of the provocations and how she's alienating people around the globe? Huh? See, most people don't register. They don't think, because they're so used to this. They're so used to this global order, they cannot compute that one day soon America will not be the be-all. The UK will not be the be-all. The Western world will not be the focus and the center of global politics and geopolitics. They cannot compute that. But if you put it in smaller terms and put it in your daily life, put it like this. If Flying Crocodile continued to bother everybody around, but she's running debt, household debt, at roughly, she's making $100,000 a year, but to keep her neighbors suppressed, paying $1 million a month. How long do you think that she can suppress her neighbors? How long do you think that she can continue on with her policies towards everybody else without it boomeranging back on her? Now, remember they talked about the debt ratio. Okay. If it was Cuba, they would say Cuba would collapse. If it was Russia, they would say Russia would collapse. If they say China, oh, China has accrued a lot of debt. Yeah, they have, but it's internal debt. That means the people of China holds most of that debt, which means that they will not purposely collapse their own country. It's the opposite with the United States. So now, when we look at that, common sense in the laws of math tells us that the more debt you acquire and the more that your resources dry up, the more unstable you become. So the collapse will not be a controlled collapse like everybody wants you to believe. They want you to believe that because in their minds, they still believe in American exceptionalism. That, oh, if she does this and this and this, we will be one power amongst many powers. Hell no. That doesn't even make mathematical sense. You're the greatest debted nation in the history of the world, and you continue to suck up the resources of the world. You are 5% of the world's population, and you consume 30 to 40% of the world's resources. You are trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, and all the world sees is war and provocation. And you're telling me that when this debt bubble bursts, the world is going to have so much compassion on you that they will allow you in a weakened state to remain a global power and have influence on the global stage. When has that ever happened? Tell me that. Everybody listen to me good. Tell me, when has that ever happened in your personal life, in a political life, or in the national scheme of things? Tell me, when has that ever happened? Did it happen to Rome? Did it happen to Greece? Huh? I'm asking. Because they want you to throw common sense out of the window because it's America. Man, don't play with me like that. I was born at night, just like not last night. Stop this foolishness. So, I see that. What is let's see. Yeah, she said she remember that. Man, this is crazy. And Jay said America has no integrity or moral character. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see, Graham. Beer Break One says Graham met with al-Baghdadi in Syria, and after that, ISIS got Stinger and told me. I remember that. I remember that too. Then Toyota trucks during the Syrian conflict. Absolutely. So you're constantly destabilizing nations. You're constantly sanctioning nations. You're assassinating people. You're ignoring international law. Your debt burden continues to rise. And you're telling me that the same nations that you're ignoring their national interests, the same nations that you're making war with, overthrowing people, destabilizing, will have compassion on you in the day of your fall? Man, stop that. Stop it. Nobody likes to address it because these are inconvenient truths. Show me one empire that has done just a tenth of what America has done and remained a global power past her time. And now you say, well, Britain, the UK, because she hitched her ride to the US. Well, Britain and the US are one and the same. They're one and the same. Show me a different geopolitical outlook from Britain and the United States. I'll wait. I'll wait. These two are the two daughters of Babylon. So, again, if it were anyone else, they would say that they're insolvent. If it was you, if it were me, if it were other people, we would be disclaimed as insolvent. If it were Greece, if it was Mali, if it was Burkina Faso, if it was the Caribbean nations, if it were a Latin American nation, an Asian nation, a Central Asian nation, you would be deemed as insolvent. And you're telling me an insolvent nation that has no manufacturing capacity, a meltdown in morals and ethics, right? That is constantly provoking nations, that has expanded its empire across the globe And that debt continues to bubble up every day. You're telling me when the bill comes due, and she's the greatest debtor nation in the history of the world, that when the collapse happens, she'll still remain a relevant power, a peer nation among great powers? How does that work? Because it doesn't work. It doesn't work mathematically. It doesn't work historically, and it doesn't work scientifically. It only works in the mind of bizarro thinkers. That's how that works. That's how that works. America would have done herself a favor had she pulled back from all of her engagements around the world and focused in on her. Did injustice by the people within her own borders that she has robbed of justice and freedom and equality. Right? Make amends for the wrongs that she has committed within her borders and around the globe. But instead, she's become more belligerent, more arrogant. And her thirst and quest for bloodshed is unquenchable. So in the day of her downfall, you think that the nation will have compassion on her? And what's crazy about this, the leaders are so deranged, they're so inebriated on what they used to be and the power and the influence that they used to have, that they don't realize that every policy initiative that they put forth is exacerbating the collapse of the empire. It's exacerbating the problems that the empire now faces. But they are so drunk on American exceptionalism that they can't see through the fog to try to correct the wrong course. Because in their eyes, they're steaming forward and they're getting ready to expand more. But they don't realize that we're looking and we see the bridge out up ahead. We see a 200-foot fall. Down there, nothing but spikes. They can't see it, but we're seeing it. They've zoomed past the stop sign. They've zoomed past the sign that says caution. And all that's left for them now is to go over the cliff. That's what's happening to the American empire. And so this is causing her to lash out. How dare Russia think that it's a pure power? How dare China become a pure power? How dare Iran become an independent nation and not kowtow to us? How dare that? How dare they think that they have as much right as I do? Iran must not have nuclear weapons. You have them. Iran must not get a bomb. You have thousands of them. We cannot let the regime get a bomb. Why? Because if they get the bomb, you can't do to them what you've done to so many nations who preceded them. And you want the resources on top of that. You believe that you can remove the threat, you can subjugate the nation, steal the resources, and then use that to subjugate and control China so that you can double back around and finish Russia off. Your plan is out. Your plan is out. But you've woken up or you have awakened to a rude reality that Iran is not willing to die. To sit up and take your orders. Iran is not willing to be your patsy, and they prefer death over that. That's honorable, right? That's honorable. And they're giving it just as well as they're taking it. Hit the like button, everybody. Hit the like button. We've been on the air for 1 hour and 10 minutes almost. Hit that like button. Come on now. Let's see. Let me go in the chat real quick. Show. Let's see if this thing is going to do a show. All right, show. All right. This thing is acting up a little bit. Jay says, laugh at my boob. Oh, you are spot on, Rashid. God is good. Cell P says 2027 is the estimated time for China conflict. I don't think so. That is the estimated time, but I don't think so. This stuff, it's not, all of this stuff will snowball together little bit by little bit. You'll see it. It's all of this is part of the same war. We're just in a different stage right now. All right. NATO, Phobos, what's up? It says NATO exists as a nuclear umbrella that says it's about nuclear umbrellas. See, in my eyes, if you have something, you're not going to tell me I can't have it, especially when you used it. That is almost like, I want you to let me relate this to you on a core level, on a lower level, so that you can understand what America is telling Iran. America is telling Iran, listen, I have a tank out in your yard, right, with these huge shells to fire at you, and you're not allowed to have a slingshot to defend yourself. Now, all of my allies have shotguns, but you can't have a slingshot. You and I might let you pick up a rock, but you can't have a slingshot. That's what she's saying to him. I want you unarmed. I want you defenseless, because it's easier to slaughter you that way. There's no reason Iran should have 90% uranium. Well, there's no reason you should have it then. Why do you have it? Well, it's for our national security. Your national security is no better than their national security. Iran must give up. And I told you guys it wasn't just about that nuclear stuff. What did I tell you? I said they wanted Iran to tie their missile program to that too. You hear them now talking about Iran must give up their ballistic missile program too. You give a crook your watch, he's going to want your wallet, your shoes, and your shirt too. And then he still might shoot you dead. So your best out, especially if you know he's violent, your best out is to do what you can in the moment of things and take your chances. You know? Let's see. Let's see. Beer Break says, then later, Trump did drone strike on al-Baghdadi in Iraq and took him out. You know what? I'm glad you said this. What you say, Flying Crocodile? Oh, Rashid, compared to me, you are a charm school professor. Listen, this is what I want to bring up. So now, the thing that's going around is Iran is trying to assassinate Trump. You remember Trump said that too during the campaign. And now Bibi Netanyahu is saying it, all right? And now you have Ted Cruz and everybody else saying that, right? And listen, I don't advocate assassination. I don't, especially against the president of the United States or something like that. I don't think. But let's just suppose that we look at things squarely and fairly, right? Didn't Trump assassinate the second most popular president who was supposed to eventually become the Ayatollah of Iran? Didn't he do that in his first term? And even swap ain't no swindle. Right? I'm just saying, if that was true, how could you be so up in arms about that, but not being up in arms about the assassination of the second most powerful person in Iran? How can you be so up in arms about that, and then Trump gets on the air and laughs and boasts about taking out the top echelon of Iran's top generals? If Iran did that to the United States, they would nuke Iran. So while they're screaming about an assassination, which we know that that's a bunch of crap, Iran never made no endeavor about that, because they understood that to do that would then bring on a nuclear strike. They understand that. But in reality, if we look at that from the man on man, woman on woman level down here, that would be almost just. And I'm not looking for nobody from the Secret Service to come here. I've told you, I am absolutely against that. Absolutely. And I think that should not happen. All right? But I'm saying, hypothetically, why is the U.S. up in arms about that when the U.S. is the one who committed the transgressions? Huh? And nobody says anything. Nobody talks about that part. It was the U.S. that assassinated him, right? It was the U.S. Prior to that, the U.S. was assassinating generals and colonels all across Syria that were a part of the Islamic Republic. They openly assassinated with Israel high level diplomats, and professors. You put a shout out to try to take out the Ayatollah one time. You've assassinated multiple high up leaders. You tried to assassinate the Ayatollah, this Ayatollah, and then I don't care what anybody say. This is my point of view right here. I think you guys assassinated the last president of Iran in a helicopter crash. That's on me. All that other stuff, that's not history, but that's on me. I'm saying that part. And then you assassinate the second most powerful person and most revered person across the Islamic Republic, and then you want to whine about a hypothetical somebody's going to come after you when you have engineered that. Man, stop that. Stop it. Only in Bizarro World. Stop it. I'm advocating for freedom, justice, and equality. Freedom, justice, and equality. And even swap is not a swindle. Okay? If you give me something and I give you something equal in value in return, I didn't swindle you. You didn't swindle me. Right? So if America can give out this stuff, then she should be able to receive it. This is what I'm saying. Stop with the madness, and you don't have to worry about it. Now, I want to say this to you all, because this goes on along the lines of American exceptionalism. All right? America is so drunk on who she was because for a season she was able to do what she wanted to do without ramifications or repercussions. But she believes that when it comes to her, the law of mathematics, the law of science, and the laws of history are negated. Science, I'm going to keep saying this until the sun stops shining. Science dictates that for every action, there is what? An equal or greater reaction. That's science. That's not Rashid. That's science. Right? Now, if you're going around the world killing, maiming, robbing, stealing, pillaging, and you've gotten away 20, 30, 40, maybe 100 years, and in your mind you've become inebriated, you think you are the one. That's why you say that America is the exceptional nation, because you believe that all of the laws of the universe stop on this side and don't apply to America. Now, how can you be surprised when you get paid in full? Huh? I'm asking. Because eventually the law will work itself out, because it's laid at the base of creation. This is what I'm saying. Why don't people look at this stuff? I'm not no scientist. But I'm telling you, if I can see this, I know other people see it. But America is America will be a great power among how? How? $600 and some trillion debt, more than that now. You got a derivative market. I remember Greg, on the last time I talked to Greg, said that the derivative market, and I reminded him, I said, you remember you told me that the derivative market was now between 2 and 5 trillion, quadrillion. He said it's even more than that now. He says a number that nobody can know. He said it could be into the quintillions. Greg said that on my show. These are side bets on bets on bets on bets on bets on bets about economic things. If the world economy is 100, let's just give them something, say $150 trillion. All right, let's give them the high end, 150 trillion. How in the hell are you going to be able to weather that tsunami of quadrillions and even quintillions? Huh? I'm asking, because maybe I'm just dumb. Maybe you need to let me know. Just talk to me and tell me how you're going to master that storm with an economy of 30, and believe it or not, I don't think it's 30-some trillion dollars, because how in the hell is your economy constantly growing when you're a service economy and your tax base is drying up, your debt burden is higher, your interest payments are higher, and you're not producing anything? So how in the hell you go from 14 trillion to 20 trillion to 20? You're doing it, you fudging the numbers so that you can stay ahead of China. Because there's no way that all of the economic barometers can become worse and your economy grow more. How is that possible? Huh? How is that possible? Because you're so worried about China and you know you need to get China out the way. But that's a task too hard for you, baby. Brooke Chin says, in the Asia Pacific countries, I believe many countries want to be neutral and have good relations with both U.S. and China, and most will try to stay out of it. If the U.S. and China go to war, they will try. Remember how Russia tried to stay out of the overthrow of Ukraine? They tried to. Remember how Russia tried to stay out of going to war with Georgia? Tried to. How Russia tried to stay out of what was going on in Syria? Tried to. But unfolding events will force people. Because remember, what we have to understand about Asia right now about that is America will not allow you to stand on the side. That's the whole thing. China wants them to be neutral. But America's policy is either you're with me or you what? You're against me. All right? But all of the nations that America is dictating to, their biggest trade partner is China. So now you have a population of millions of people. You know America doesn't have your nation or your national interest in its best interest or at heart. China seems to have it more so than that. The number one trade partner is willing to have win-win situations with you, and all they want you to do is respect China's growth and stop them from using anything that they may have against China. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to gravitate to China because China's not trying to force them. That's what's going on. Jason, the South Koreans are actually trying to immigrate to the North. Let's see. I bet money that either Japan, France, or Germany will be the first, will turn on the U.S. first. Well, out of Europe, it's gonna be France. France is gonna tuck tail and run. All right. Let's see. U.S. got smoked in Ukraine, smoked like a Winston-Salem cigarette. They got smoked. Let's see. Book says, wonder what will happen with the Philippines. They are actively trying to court U.S. military support. They also expressed interest in the U.S. Typhoon missile launch. Garbage. What's going to happen? You know, my mom used to tell young, she would say, it's time to piss or get off the potty. There'll be a time to either pee or get off the potty. When this thing go down, the national interest will supersede all this other foolishness. And any leader trying to suppress the people, they'll fall. The people will rise up because they understand what's at stake here. We're looking at a new world order coming in. Let's see. La says, what if Putin is a mole working for the Zionist oligarchs in Russia? That's something I won't hypothesize about because I don't know. But all I do know is that he brought Russia back on its feet. And all I do know is that he's giving the U.S. the business over there in Ukraine. I do know that much. Let's see. Bill Rick says, and absolutely, the U.S. and NATO both got smoked in Ukraine. Jay says the U.S. should be the pariah of the world. It is. It is. And as a matter of fact, some of that came out at the recent Shangri-La dialogue. Some of that came out into the public sphere. Let's see. Andrew just said France knew Europe will catch the smoke. Yeah, they're gonna be the first one jumping out of this. Rashid breathing fire. Thank you. Graham and yeah, absolutely right. What? Listen, this country is coming apart at the seams, and Iran is faced with a threat right now. Let me get to that real quick. Iran is faced with a threat right now. Why? Because she didn't go all in Syria. I kept telling everybody when this stuff was unfolding, I said it would behoove Iran to just go all in, whether Assad wanted them to or not. It was because once America get to your doorsteps, they're not knocking, they're coming in. I kept saying that. I said, in Iran, I hope Iran don't have to find this out. They're finding it out now. It would have been best for them to fight in Syria than for them to be fighting in Iran. All right? That's the, propaganda is very strong, but people are starting to wake up. Even some of the biggest Trump fans, absolutely. Even Michael says, even the UK had to take the L at some point. You better believe it. They're going to take another L and another one and another one, just like the United States. I don't know, how can I say this? The time for imperialism and Western colonialism is up. All of those who have built their systems on that, on predatory policies, will sink their governments because others are not willing for that. I was looking at I think it was it Chad? It was one African nation, and a lot of their, was it Congo? Like more and more, it was a whole bunch of them came out. Like 3 new nations came out a few days ago, but I believe it was the Congo that says, from this point on, I could be wrong at the nation on it. From this point on, not an ore or mineral goes out of this country without being refined. Period. Since it's ours, we'll refine it here and we'll sell it to you so that you won't take it for pennies on the dollar back to Europe and refine it and sell it to us at exorbitant prices. See, this is what I'm saying. People are starting to wake up. And the bad problem about this, I have to say this, I have to be straight up with you guys. The European population, the European citizens are going to feel it because of the intransigence of their policies of the leaders. Because the leaders still think this is 1945. They still believe that's 1960. They don't understand the unraveling and changing dynamics of the global architecture. And think about what was once a gimme in Africa is no longer a gimme. And this is what I want to tell, because it's a lot of them that reach out to me, and I have to say this. Prepare yourselves for what's coming. Prepare, because there's a lot of bad things coming to Europe. I hate to say this, but I got to tell you this. With little to no resources, and then following the policies of this maniac hegemon, it's going to blow back on the people. You see the rich, they're already putting their bunkers and their supplies in there because they understand what's coming. They don't want you to understand. That's why they're suppressing you. They talk about democratic values and the freedom of this and the freedom of that, shutting down opposition and doing all of that stuff because they understand what's coming. They understand what's coming. And it's going to be real ugly. I'm talking about Mad Max ugly. This is better than a Sunday sermon. Sale P8 says there is no way back. They will keep doubling down on it until the end. You know what? I digress. I'm of that same opinion. They continue to hit the head against the steel or the brick wall, saying eventually the brick wall will give way. Not understanding that they're fracturing their skull. They are having all kinds of concussions. And pretty soon, they'll have to succumb to the brain bleeding. They don't understand that because they're drunk. And drunk people do crazy things. Let's see. Jay says, I recommend you guys watch the French film La Haine or L.A. Haine. I can't pronounce. I'm not French, so I can't pronounce. It means to hate, he says. Let's see. Let's go back. Beer Break says Cruz was quick with his anti-Semite call. Well, here's the whole thing about it. The people who call everybody else anti-Semites, they're not Semitic. They're Khazars. All of them have their roots in Europe. All of them have their roots there. So they're not Semitic. But they like to use that to shut down opposition and to shut down truth. All right, let's see. Brooke says Trump once bragged that he was going to ununite China. Oh, yes, he did. Ununite China and Russia. But I think Putin knows what Trump is up to and won't fall for his tricks. And he also used a little racism with it, too. Uh, Russia doesn't want to be the junior partner to China. He doesn't want to be to that Asian. Trump is off the chain, bro. Oh, man. I'm telling you, boy. See, he wants to. Now first, the Anglo-Saxon world, they don't want to view most of Russia as white people. They call them what? Orcs, right? They don't even accept them. And now that Russia has united with China, now they're making this play to try to break the bond. Man, stop this, man. Those are childish games. Is it possible that a civil war breaks out in the USA before the nukes are fired? It's going to happen. Not just it's going to be, man, listen to me good. I advise you guys to go look at, I've done multiple interviews with Gregory Manarino, but the last one I did, which was, I believe, the first part of this year before my mother passed, and the one before that, and he'll go into that and he'll tell you about this thing. He said, what's going to happen is going to be biblical. He said, most people don't understand when this economy collapses, when this bubble collapses, bursts, excuse me. He says, what's going to happen is going to be on a biblical scale. It's going to kill more lives than a nuclear exchange. He said, and that's why a lot of people up in the upper tier of government are trying to prepare. They understand. See, that's why they're fighting. They have no other choice but to fight or lay down and give up the ghost because the world is dying. They put on this brave face in front of the cameras, but listen to me good. If you understand basic math, basic science, because believe me, I'm not deep. My son can take you into calculus and trigonometry and all that stuff like that. Pops can't. Pops used to know up to, I think I knew some of trig, but that was it. But my oldest son, all that stuff in his head. And my youngest son is like that too. I mean, you ask him, you say, my son that's 9 years old, you ask him, what's 3,400 plus 7,900? Quickly, boom. I mean, right on top of his head, boom. It's like he has a computer, a supercomputer or something. But for those of you who understand basic math and basic science, and even some of the basics of history, tell me, how can this not be the outcome? If you look at all of the economic barometers, and then just look at the situation that's unfolding in America and in the UK and across the European Union, and then look at the outbreak of hostility of nations around the world against continued occupation and continued meddling. How can this not happen when your debt burden continues to grow and your resources are continuing to crash and you have no production? How can you maintain a global order with no production? Look at America. She doesn't produce anything anymore but movies, sanctions, and weapons that don't work. People don't want the weapons. A lot of them don't want the weapons. And people don't want the movies because they're all remakes. And then people are shunning the dollar. So you become a service economy. How can a nation of 335 to 365 million people sustain a life that's like this when the debt burden is so high, the tax base is so low, there's nothing in between but degradation, a dying scene of morality, and the ethics of the people have all but vanished. Tell me how, and the educational system has been destroyed. Tell me, how can that not lead to something like a biblical die-off? I'm asking. Because I'm just the average Joe on the street, and I know people, they have their, they can't, some people, listen, Now, I want you to listen to me on this one. Some people that are alternative, they understand this, but they can't tell you like this is because they don't see it completely like this because they haven't gone through this stuff. What is the old saying? Experience is the best teacher. So you get a chance to see certain things and analyze things in a way that other people don't. So you can see certain things. All right. I have what did they tell me? I had fighter pilot vision in one eye and better than 20/20 vision in the other eye. All right. So I'm always, when I'm driving, I'm always seeing things my wife can't see. I'm like, oh, that car up there is it's pushing on the brakes, so the traffic is getting ready to stop. I'm slowing down. I see signs and stuff long before she even could see them. All right. Now, how can I expect the person that wears glasses or close to being blind to see what I see? I just have to talk to them and tell them that. And if they accept it, they accept it. And if they don't, they don't. Some of the pundits can't see it because they've rubbed elbows with the upper echelon and they tell, oh, everything will be all right. This is because that is the mantra, that is the theme of the day, because in reality, they cannot see a world outside of Western domination. And that's okay. But time will either vindicate me or condemn me on what I'm saying to you guys. And I'm willing to stand there and I'm willing to take my lumps. If I'm wrong, I'm willing to take my lumps. But if I'm right, hey, you better take heed to what I'm saying to you. So, Flying Crocodile says it ain't about the nukes, it's about ownership and control, absolute, and suppression and exploitation. All about that. Saria says Pax Americana is dying. Oh man, boom, mic drop moment. Pax Americana is dying slowly, but what is being replaced? It is Pax Judica emerging from after the U.S. goes to war. Nah, with everyone in collapse economy. No, first of all, Israel cannot survive without America and the UK and Europe. Their economy has already, for all intents and purposes, before this war was started, the economy had collapsed. The United States had been injecting, I believe, $4 billion every so many quarters into the economy of Israel. The UK and the EU have been doing the same thing to keep keep that entity over there going, because that is the US and the UK's outpost in the Middle East. All right. So when America's economy collapses and the empire collapses, guess what happens? Because this is not just, when I say America, I'm talking about the UK too. The US UK empire collapses. Guess what happens? All of these pretend states collapse. All of these governments, these sheikdoms and then fiefdoms and all of that stuff collapse with it. And all of that Wahhabism and all that goes out the way too. Because remember, Wahhabism and Salafism is a construct of the CIA. If you don't believe me, go to the Freedom of Information Act and read up on it. That is a construct of the MI6 and the CIA. Now, if I'm lying, you can go to the thing and look it up, and it'll say, well, Rashid is lying. But if I'm not lying, be aware of what I'm saying. When this collapses, the influence of the empire collapses with it. That means all of this stuff, the Wahhabism, the Salafism, and all of that goes with it. All right, let's see. Yeah. Let's see. This thing is jumping. Hold on one second. Oh man, let me grab this. Come on. Region 9 says the art of the deal is not equal. Coin. M Sparks is in the building. What's good, fam? Better late than never. Yeah, we've been chopping it up. Let's see. Yeah, cooking them, Anna. That's absolutely right. Cooking the books. Let's see. A name does not make someone Jewish. Absolutely. Right. This is what Anna says right here. I am confident that Roy Cohn is a Zionist, but I don't know if he was Jewish. Right. Let's see. This thing is, man, I wonder why they have these things jumping like this. Region 9 says both he was Jewish, mafia ties, and Les Wexner, run from etc. Intelligence. If you want to know that, go to the interview I did about not the last interview, but the interview before that I did. Oh, during Trump's first term, I believe it was around about that time. I did with Professor Kevin Barrett. He goes into all of Trump's connections, all of them. He goes into them, and he tells you where you can get the information from and everything. Go to that. Hexer says trying to unite small Asian countries against China just a week or two ago. Yeah. Man, this thing is jumping so fast. Anyway, if news break, we'll be back here shortly. Hey, please, before we go, hit the like button. Hit the like button, because they're gonna, whatever likes I get, they're gonna take 40% of. And hey, guys, and somebody pointed this out that they took a lot more of my subscribers. It's okay. Listen, it's cool. Don't sweat it. Just check and see if you still subscribe. And if you still subscribe, bring somebody else. If you're not subscribed, resubscribe and bring somebody else. Remember to share these things and like it, because that's the only way we can beat the algorithm. Also, go over to the empowermentoftruth.locals.com and sign up now. And sign up all this week, so that if we can get a few more subscribers, give me 15 more, then we're going to start doing question and answers over there once a week. All right. Also, we're going to be doing a Patreon and a channel member stream either tomorrow or Friday. And if something comes up, we're going to do it Saturday, okay? I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, elevation, and edification. This is the Red Pill Diaries, and I'm your host, Rashid. Thank each and every one of you, and I want to say this before we go off the air. Remember to do right by others, not because there's some material gain or because there's some accolades behind it. Do right by others because it's the right, humane, and godly thing to do. Because even when no one else is watching you, God Almighty is watching. He sits high, as my mom says, but he looks low. And now I want to say this to each and every one of you who support me. To each and every one of you, I love each and every one of you who loves truth. But know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. And before we go off the air, let me say this to you guys. So I usually go off the air like that, and my mom used to always tell me that she loves when I say that, and she'll say, right back at you, son, I love you more than life, right? So you know my mom passed in February. I mean, on March. Excuse me. Where am I talking? April. And so the other day I was doing my show, and my son, Kabari, the one that she would go to World War III for, didn't want you to say nothing to. Oh my God, she didn't want you to say anything to. Anyway, and she used always, that was her baby boy. So when I say, Mom, your baby boy loves you more than life, he comes in and say, listen, old man. First he said, Dad, that was a good show. Now let me tell you something. Listen, old man. That's my girl. I'm her baby boy, and that's my nana. And you got to stop telling the people that you her baby boy when I'm her baby boy forever. So I'll change the end of it just for this day and say, Mama, your baby boys love you more than life. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. We're out of here. Peace.
Told you to walk away. That was my first and last mistake.